What's up YouTube, Jamie the Kid 00 here, bringing you guys a Bujin deck profile. I managed to put together Bujins out of the pulls from our case video, which you should have just watched on the channel. If you haven't, please go check out that case, because it was pretty awesome. But I felt that Bujin is one of the kind of most interesting archetypes coming out of this set, so I figured you guys would want to see it as soon as possible. And I know that the case was the first deck profile, the case was the first of its kind on YouTube, so here's hoping that this deck profile is going to be one of the first solid deck profiles with the actual cards on YouTube as well. So this deck is actually pretty weird. It's built based on text that me and a friend kind of talked about, and this is actually a Black Garden Bujin deck. There's probably a lot of changes that are going to occur, and there are a lot of other cards that probably should be played in here, like Zephyros the Elite, and I know Kaiser Colosseum is incredible with this deck, but at the moment, I'm trying to find space for it all, so this is just a Black Garden version that I've kind of arrived at for now. And there's some pretty interesting stuff in here, but after testing, this is probably going to change a bit. But let's get into this and let's show you a Bujin deck profile, because that's what you're here to see. So to start off with, we play 3 copies of Bujin Yamato. It's Bujin Yamato, you have to play 3 of him. The sad thing about the deck is it doesn't have another Bujin Beast Warrior, and most of your Bujingi cards will only support this guy. So the main aim of the deck is to keep this guy alive, or make the bigger version. But we'll get to that later. We then play 3 copies of Bujingi Crane. This card is honest for the deck. Basically, damage calculation. If you have a Bujin Beast Warrior, which is basically Yamato or Susanoo, this card can double its attack, which is pretty boss. We then play 3 copies of Bujingi Quillin. If this guy is in the graveyard, and you have a Bujin Beast Warrior on board, you can banish this guy and destroy one of your opponent's face-up cards. So that's pretty boss. So there's your spot removal for the deck. And then, now we have the Honest, so we're indestructible by battle. We have the Destroyer in Quillin. Now, what are we missing? We're missing defensive things. So we play 3 copies of Bujingi Turtle. If this card is in the graveyard, you can banish it. If one of your your Bujin Beast Warrior monsters is targeted, it's just Bujin. Whenever a Bujin monster you control is targeted by an effect, you can banish this card and negate that effect. So we have the protection as well. So that covers all the Bujin and Bujingi cards. Sorry, I got a bit mixed up on that. Moving into some of the other stuff we play. This is the Black Garden variant, and I felt that some of the best cards to play in the Black Garden variant were 3 copies of Jurak Guaiba. Because this deck plays 3 copies of Forbidden Lance, so it's pretty supported by the Lances and the book. But also, when Black Garden is out on the board, summoning this card generates a token which has 50 less attack points than this will do. This will have 850, the token will have 800. This is then able to attack that token and immediately kill it and get another Jurak Guaiba. So that's pretty boss. So you can make Evol's Arlagias for basically free if you can get that attack through. So against things like E-Dragons that don't play any back row or very few back row, this card is almost always going to go off. Then the final monster, the final couple of monsters I play is 1 copy of Bear for that instant removal that Tenki offers. And it can search me out more Tenkis if I've just drawn it, so it can get me into my Yamatos. And I then play 1 copy of Honest, because you can play the 4th Honest in the deck. So 4 Honests. Pretty boss. The spell lineup is still very subject to change, but this is what we've got so far. 1 Reborn, 1 Dark Hole, 1 Storm, and 1 Book. The Book is mainly in here to shut down things like Thunder King Ryo that really hurt this deck. Things like Jowgen aren't that big a problem, but it also allows Guaiba to be a lot more versatile, and it just deals with a lot of problem cards that you can't deal with in other ways. So I still feel that Book is very good in this, and it also doubles as a bit of a battle trap if you should need it. So it's just very versatile. I quite like it in this deck. I then play 3 copies of Forbidden Lance, because it's Forbidden Lance, and I want my summons to go off, so Forbidden Lance is pretty good. At the moment, I'm only playing 2 copies of Black Garden. That's only because I only have 2, and I wanted to build this deck in almost entirely of real cards. I would be playing 3 if I had 3. I need to find the 3rd, but at the moment, I only have 2 Black Gardens. So please, if you want to build this, I'd put in a 3rd. I then play 2 copies of Terraforming to get to it, so of course it would be the 3-2 ratio that is the favourite. I'm currently playing 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki to search out all of our lovely Beast Warriors in the form of Bear and Yamato. And instead of the 3rd Black Garden, because I couldn't find it, I'm testing 1 copy of Fire Formation Tensu. The Tensu is mainly in here because on Dueling Network, which is where most of my testing has been, because I have only had this deck for today, I have occasionally had 2 Beast Warriors in hand, be it 2 Yamatos, or I've had a play with a Bujin Turtle and a Yamato in hand, where I've really wanted to go into Susanoo, and the Tensu just would have made the plays so much easier. I considered double summon, but I felt that Tensu would be a much better card in this deck. But there have been a lot of situations where I've really needed a second normal summon, and I feel that Tensu will prove very effective in the future. I then play 2 copies of Bujin Carnation. Bujin Carnation is almost the miracle fusion of the deck, which makes this deck incredible. Basically, if you have a Bujin banished and a Bujin in your graveyard, either Bujin, Bujingi, whichever, you can play this card. If you have no monsters, your opponent has at least 1 monster, you can bring those 2 monsters back, and then if you want to, you don't actually have to, you can bring them back to the field, 1 banished and 1 from grave, and you can then exceed them into any Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast exceeds. So you can make Direwolf, Bujinte Susanoo, or Tiger King. So opens up some pretty awesome plays. I really like Bujin Carnation, so I'm considering bumping to 3, but 3 was cloggy in the past. But at the same time, it's an incredible power card, so it's really good to draw. It's almost as good as Miracle Fusion. Then for the traps are fairly standard because we have all the protection and removal you really need in the form of the Yamato engine with all of his Bujingis. But we play 3 copies of Compulsory Evacuation Device just because I really like Compulse at the moment. It's really, really effective, it's really disruptive, and if you don't have your Yamato engine online, it can actually allow you to disrupt your opponent and kind of stay alive, really. And it also deals with some of the bigger things like Draco Sack that you really have a hard time dealing with this deck. I then play 2 copies of Vanity's Emptiness in the main and 1 in the side deck. Because of the way Yamato works, you're never sending a card from the deck to the graveyard, you're always adding 1 from the deck to the hand, then sending from the hand to the graveyard. And you're going to be protecting your guy on board, so things are rarely going to be leaving the deck or field. So Vanity's Emptiness is pretty hard wearing in this deck. And I then play 2 copies of Bujin Regalia, the Sword. Basically, there's nothing worse than running out of Bujin Yamatos or Bujin Cranes. Basically, this card lets you either add 1 Bujin from your banished back to the grave, or add 1 Bujin from your grave to your hand. So you can either use it to recycle your Yamatos, or if you've got, say, Yamato on field and this face down and a Crane in hand, nothing in hand. If your opponent were to attack, you can flip this in attack declaration, get the Crane, add it back to your hand, and then in damage calculation, discard the Crane, honesting your monster, and you can win that battle. So it's a pretty nasty combo. This can double as a battle trap. It's just very versatile, especially late game. So that's the main deck. It's currently 41 cards, and it's subject massively to change, and I really want to hear your thoughts on it, and like the difference between my build and your build. I'm really looking forward to hearing it. But onto the extra deck. For the extra deck, we play 2 copies of Bujinte Susanoo. I never find myself making 3. I often find myself only making 1. This guy's basically a jacked up Yamato where he can discard, detach 1 material and add 1 Bujin monster from your deck to your hand or from your deck to your graveyard. And while he's out, and this is probably one of his more important effects, while he's out, he can attack all of your opponent's monsters each. And while Bujingi Crane says only for 1 damage step, if you honest this guy, that honest will last for the entire battle phase, so you can deal some serious damage over your opponent's monsters, especially under Black Garden. So think about that for a minute. I then play 1 copy of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Tiger King, because you can make him and he searches out tanky, so why not? And then playing 1 copy of Constellar Omega. I don't actually own a Constellar Omega, so this is a proxy, but Omega is very, very good in this. I then play 1 copy of Evolzar Dolkun and Evolzar Lagia for the Guaiba. Pretty self-explanatory. 1 copy of Diamond Direwolf, because this deck is predominantly Beast Warrior, and Wing Beast, so it's incredible, and you can make it with Bujin Carnation, so it allows you to destroy lots of cool things. Especially Iron Wall, that really shuts you down with this deck. 1 Star Leash Paladynamo, because it's a heavy light deck. 1 Utopia, 1 Maestroke, 1 Gaga Cowboy, because 800 for game is cool. 1 Papal Imperative, because it's Papal Imperative and you can honest it with this deck, so yay. 1 Daigusto Emerald, because you can run out of Yamatos and put them back in the deck isn't all that bad. 1 Gemknight Pearl, this is basically all 4s for dealing with Ophion. And 1 number 16 Shockmaster, because you can occasionally make it, and if you can make Shockmaster, why not make it? So yeah, guys, this has been my Bujin deck profile, and hopefully probably one of the earliest on YouTube. It's been the Bujin Black Garden variant. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Please, please, please drop me comments down below of changes you would make to this and other cool techs you've discovered for this deck, because I think it shows a lot of promise, and I'm really looking forward to the effect it's going to have on the meta in the months to come. Otherwise, this has been Jamie the Kid 00. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Bye.